So here's a new project that I just uploaded to GitHub. It's called the Bootstrapper Kit, and it's a sample project showcasing how to use Docker and friends to make Ansible development easier. The trick here is that it makes use of bash, make, Docker, and a bunch of scripts, right, to ensure that everyone in your team has the same version of Ansible, and that if there are any configuration changes that need to happen, it's automatically applied because we take advantage of Make's ability to rebuild something in case some of the files changed. Alright, so there's you. And let's say you want to run an Ansible playbook. In order for you to run Ansible playbook, I normally separate out cluster-specific information into what I call a cluster definition directory. The cluster definition directory normally contains at least 3 files: the hosts or inventory file, the vars.yaml file, and the vault.yaml file, which contains secrets and is encrypted by Ansible Vault, right? Not HashiCorp Vault, right? Ansible Vault. Now, in order for Ansible Playbook to decrypt the vault.yaml file, it must have access to a vault password file, and the bootstrapping project automatically creates this vault password file, and it's a randomized vault password is just UUID and stuff like that. So once Ansible Playbook has access to that vault password file, it can then decrypt vault.yaml and then configure the hosts accordingly, right? And so that's very easy, right? And let's say you push the cluster config directory into a Git repo, right? At this point, vault.yaml is still decrypted so that any unauthorized persons trying to view it will only see gibberish, right? Now, let's say here's Bob, and we just name him Bob because that's the shortest name that I can fit in that text box. And Bob is a new teammate, and he needs to work on the same playbooks that you're working on. And also, he'd like to test out the cluster definition directory that you just created. So he pulls that from the same Git repo and feeds that into Ansible Playbook. But here's a problem. Because his Ansible Playbook, although it's exactly the same playbook as what you're using, but because it doesn't have the vault password file, it's unable to decrypt vault.yaml, and Bob will be very sad because things are broken. Now here's another feature that this bootstrapping project has, is that as soon as it creates the vault password file, it'll actually ask you to log into your 1Password account so that it can upload the vault password file in 1Password, right? And so when Bob runs Ansible Playbook, what it'll do is it'll look for the vault password file, and if it doesn't find it, it'll ask Bob to either create a vault password file, which is the wrong thing to do in this case, or download the vault password file, right? And so Bob, provided that you've given him access to your 1Password team account, will just log into 1Password automatically through the CLI, and then the bootstrapping toolkit will download the vault password file, allowing Ansible Playbook to decrypt vault.yaml and run successfully, right? Configuring the hosts, the same hosts that we're talking about. And so this is a very high-level 10,000 feet overview of how what the project does. Seems very simple, but if in day 1, day 2 kind of situations where you're still bootstrapping your project, bootstrapping your infrastructure, and you have more than one teammate to deal with, this saves you a lot of time. Alright, so here we are in the project. This directory has 2 repositories. One is the cluster definition directory, and the other one is the bootstrapper kit. Right. I like to open both repositories in the same Vim session. Makes it easier for me to manage. Now here's the sample cluster definition directory. It has 2 files right now: the hosts file, or the inventory file, and the vars.yaml file. And in a bit we'll create the vault.yaml file. by executing script config. If I can execute it in the right directory, execute script config and point it to the sample cluster definition directory that we can see from above. Now you'll see that it displays an error: vault password file not found at this long path. It knows to look for the vault password file in that location because it actually reads the cluster ID from the vars.yaml file. If you can see here, cluster ID is change me blah blah blah, and that's the same path that it's looking that it's using to look for the vault password, right? And so it says, look, vault password file is not located, is not found in this directory. So what would you like to do? In this case, we want to create the password file and then upload it to 1Password. So let's do that. Alright, so now it has initialized the password file. It's created it using some random text actually. And if we look at that path right now, I can create a split session here so that we can see what it looks like. Before I do that, hang on, let me copy this path first. Alright, and we open a new session, we just cat that path, and you see it's just a random text, it's really just text generated by UUIDgen. And so now it's asking us to log into 1Password. First of all, it asks us for the 1Password subdomain of our team account, right? And I'll type that in, blah 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 .1password.com, and then it'll ask for my email address and then the password for my account. And then from here on out, it'll log into 1Password and then upload it as a document. But before you can do that, it'll ask you if you have more than one 1Password vault, right? It'll ask you which vault do you want to upload this document to. In this case, we will upload it to Amplify, our Amplify Inc. shared vault, right? And it says the file has been uploaded. It's now initializing the vault, the Ansible vault, and that's it. Your playbook executed successfully. And you also see our vault file has been created, and it's gibberish. It's encrypted by the vault password file that was randomly generated a bit earlier. We can edit that vault directly, right, using script edit vault and pointing that script to the cluster definition directory, and we'll just add some some key and some value in there, save it, and when we look back up and refresh the vault, you'll see that it has changed somehow. Can't tell what changed, but it updated, right? And it's still encrypted. You don't have to decrypt and then re-encrypt it. Just do script edit. All right. And let's say we want to use that variable, the one that we added to vault. So we just do it this way. I believe the key that we wrote in there was some key, so we'll just use that. Debug it out. We'll just save this file, and then rerun script configure. It'll notice that the vault password file was found, so it'll just carry on its merry way. And then here we go. That's the value that we have in the Ansible vault file, successfully encrypted and displayed or used as according to how you see it. Now, this project, as I mentioned earlier, it automatically updates the Docker image in case any of the configuration files or the Docker file changes. Like for example, if we change this Docker file, in one line, and we rerun script configure down below, right? We just added some environment variable there, right? Doesn't matter as long as there's a change, right? We go back down to the terminal down, and then just run script configure as normal, and make will notice that something changed, and so it'll rebuild the image, and it'll ensure that you still have the correct Ansible playbook image running as expected, right? So this is how it does that trick, right? It just monitors a file called .lastansible_build, and if any of the files on the right side have a newer update date value, then it'll run these two commands automatically. right? I mean, this is old school make behavior, right? And so if you upload or if you push this to your Git repo, and then your teammates also pull that into their local machines, when the next time they run script configure, it'll also rebuild their machine image, right? All right, so now let's say let's pretend we're Bob, and Bob doesn't have the vault password file yet, right? So if he runs script configure against the cluster sample, cluster definition directory, right? It'll say, okay, vault password file not found at that location, right? What do you want to do? In this case, Bob wants to download the password file from 1Password. So Bob enters the 1Password subdomain of the team. Also inputs his own email address and then his password for his account in 1Password. And so the script now goes ahead and does its thing, logs into 1Password, and then downloads, or at least downloads the list of vaults that are available, 1Password vaults in this case. We know that it was uploaded to the Amplify vault, so we pick number 3. Right. The password file is then downloaded to the correct location, and it attempts to decrypt the vault file, and notices that it's readable, so it knows that it has the right vault file, and then continues on its merry way. So Bob is able to configure the same host using the same Ansible playbook and the same cluster definition directory, because you were able to share the password file securely via 1Password, right? There's no need for manual copying and pasting and sharing in Messenger or email or wherever, right? Saves you a lot of time, gives you, a better sense of security because you know that that password file was passed on securely. So that's it for the project. If you want more information, visit relaxdiego.com. Thank you very much.